What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. I know I said that I was gonna do these at 7:30, but tonight the Hornets play at 8 and the Hurricanes play at 8. So I just need my sports to spread out a little bit to make it easier to cover it all, but just working it out. But spring training getting well underway, so that's really good. You still got a lot of free agents. Same thing as every other week, but it is what it is. I think Scott Boras definitely overplayed his hand. And sorry for the insane hair right now. It won't go down, so we're gonna add a hat to this. Just for still weird on the side, but still Jordan Montgomery, still a free agent. Blake Snell, still a free agent. Adam Duvall, still a free agent. Eddie Rosario, still a free agent. Tommy Pham, same. It's really surprising. But again, it is what it is. But the reality is that these guys wait any longer, they might not be ready for the regular season, and that is never a good thing. But I guess they chose it, so it's what we're going with. But Kike Hernandez did sign a 1-year deal of $4 million to return to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers traded Manuel Margot, central piece in the Tyler Glasnow deal, to the Minnesota Twins for a highly touted reliever prospect. Yeah, Matt Chapman. I forgot about him in the big name. JD Martinez. I heard that he turned down $20 million from the Giants, so before they offered Soler. So there's that. Trevor Bauer and Julio Urias obviously have an extra layer to their free agency. The Marlins finally signed a legit MLB free agent, although I don't know if he can play shortstop anymore, but Tim Anderson, 1 year, $5 million. So that's good for them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, having so many free agents, that can help a lot of people out on the market, unless they're waiting for injury or an opportunity to pop up. But it may be because of the minor league rules. I'm not sure if that's playing factor at this point either. But I guess I can get into the Braves of it all. I was gonna wait and see if more people came in, but it's spring training, so we're all working through everything. But I have, if I had to guess, Tommy Doyle is not going to make the Braves roster. He struggled mightily today, and I think he struggled in the other outing he had too. 5 runs. So Tommy Doyle is not going to make the Braves roster. Not a surprise to probably anyone at this point. But Chris Sale looked amazing. Not trying to overreact to 2 innings, but I'm going to overreact to 2 innings right now. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, touched 97, and he really mixed and matched the off speed very, very well. A couple of 3-2 counts, but he got squeezed on a couple of pitches as well in those counts. But reaching 97 miles an hour on the strikeouts to his money, Grandal is very, very, very encouraging. And Chris Sale is willing to do anything for the Braves, and that mindset is amazing to have. And as bullpen focused as today's game is that I'll do anything attitude is something to love in our clubhouse. And of course he's fitting right into the clubhouse based on the reports and the articles and all that. Yeah, I think Tim Anderson is just one of those roller coasters that you never know what you're gonna get. So, could be a gourmet box of chocolates, or it could be a burnt box of chocolates. Really, you never know what you're gonna get with that. Obviously, good for him. Maybe he can revitalize his career there. I think he's could be the good characters in baseball. He was when he was winning batting titles and things of that nature, so it could help him out. But yeah, again, Chris Sale looking as good as he did today. Obviously, we don't need to overreact to 2 innings, but that's where we are in spring training, I think. Tim Anderson is not the boxer that he wants everyone to believe that he is, for sure. But some other standouts early on in spring. Obviously, Max Fried did his thing yesterday. Really liking that. David Fletcher has started off really solid. And if he makes the roster, his nickname for me is the King of Contact. He's just been putting together really good at-bats. Sean Murphy had a couple hits, couple RBIs today. Forrest Wall is really starting off really well for that 4th outfielder spot as of now. 3 for 5. Had a homer yesterday for our only run scored. The speed is there, so really awesome there. Jerry Kilnick's made a couple of really good defensive plays in so that's really good. Marcelo Zuna has had really good games thus far as well. You love to see that. He played a couple innings at first base the other day. I didn't see any necessarily trashing him anywhere, so it didn't go too badly. I think he only played a couple innings, so there's not much to report there, but really good for him to keep his versatility up and whatnot. Bryce Elder struggled in his one outing, but again, he struggled last year in spring training, but then became an all-star for us in the first half. So again, it's balancing excitement versus fear in terms of when you look at spring numbers and all of that. It's an interesting balance for all of us. But Bryce Elder's been pretty much if he keeps playing the way he is, he's gonna force his way on the roster, regardless of service time or whatever. You know that with the Braves, they really yeah, Tanya. I hope I said that right. He did look really, really good today. That was the most exciting thing that happened in today's game, pitching wise for sure. But the Braves could care less about service time or whatever, and if David Fletcher continues to play like he has in the early stages of spring training, he's going to force his way on the roster. And he's a better version of Nicky Lopez in terms of the versatility that he brings. So I think, again, there's still a lot of time left and things could work out and differentiate themselves. But Forrest Wall and David Fletcher have kind of differentiated themselves as the leaders early on, in my opinion. But yeah, I just love the addition, Chris Sale. So I'm not, because Alex Anthopoulos said he likes guys that understand their role, especially if they know that they're a utility guy on the Braves and they're not gonna play a lot. Urshela and Med Rosario want to play more and want to. Luis Guillorme has already kind of embraced the role of he understands he's here and whatever we need him to do, he will do. And he understands that the Braves play every day, and Urshela and Ahmed Rosario are too good to be sitting on the bench most of the time, in my opinion. And that's a role you definitely have to embrace with the Braves. The reality of not playing a lot unless an injury happens, or knock on wood that it doesn't. But you got to have a special mentality and a special realization of how good the Braves are. So that is why we did not go for Ahmed Rosario or Gio Urshela. And I've said this a lot because people keep saying these guys are available. Yeah, they are. But it just doesn't fit the mold that Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves have created. And the guys that we have are everyday guys, always want to play and stay in that rhythm and all that jazz. So it is what it is. Nacho Alvarez has opened some eyes early on this spring. Couple extra base hits in his first game, and just some really good at bats so far. Youngster, but he could take a jetpack through our minor league system if he continues this way, and it could be the heir apparent to Orlando Arcia. I'm not sure. Maybe a year away or so. But the way he started, he's definitely opened some eyes. So that is a really, really, really positive thing given our infield prospect depth and it's likely not going to happen, but I don't know about Belt. I think I don't know. That one's it's an idea, but I just don't. I don't necessarily see it. Also, Fletcher could be a trade candidate if he pitches or if he continues to play well, and we're able to get some salary relief, and then you try a different route with maybe the Guillorme. If he plays decently well in spring training, you could go that route as well. I'm not saying Belt's a bad idea, but I think he wants to DH a little more. And again, Marcelo Ozuna pretty much locked that downish. So it's an interesting idea, and I could see it happening, but I don't know. For sure. But I mean, a lot of things still got to be ironed out and still got to happen. For sure. But yeah, it would be a really good safety net, no doubt. But I just don't know. I think Brandon Belt probably wants to play a little more. But we'll see there. Tyler Matzik getting back on the mound and having a clean inning yesterday was nice to see. Rosario did not come back because $9 million. $9 million's a lot for a pretty streaky hitter and a pretty streaky defensive guy as well. And it was just time. I think it ran its course. Rosario's a great guy, and what he did in the postseason, geez, turned into Babe Ruth. But no, we're not going to send Kelnick down. You're still trying to keep that Ozuna banter going, Matt, and it's not going to work. But like I said, I think Eddie Rosario just his time ran out for us. $9 million's a lot for how streaky he was defensively and offensively. I love Eddie, and I always love Eddie. But I think the market is proving Alex Anthopoulos right that no one has signed Eddie Rosario yet. Matt, you've got to think of another banter topic for us this year, man. Ozuna's where he's gonna be and gonna stay. But Harris and Riley and Forrest Wall have gotten on the spring training home run board, so that's nice. And actually, I think Elder was the only pitcher that really struggled. Ronaldo Lopez gave up a solo homer yesterday, but nothing else. Looked really fresh and really good from reports. So that'll be, again, the fifth starter battle that it is. Ozuna was historically bad for the first 2 months, yes, but then turned into an all-star DH. So hopefully he finds a little bit more of the consistency in the after May Miami Marcell Ozuna. But he's going to be around this year, I think, no matter, unless something like the first 2 months of the season last year happens. I don't see anything happening with Ozuna. But that's just my opinion. But I think Elder was the only name or the regular or that struggled pitching wise. Owen Murphy struggled today, but nearly got out of a. I think that's to be determined who our DH will be. I think that's Ozuna is going to be our DH this year. After this year, I think it's to be determined for sure. But Ozuna could have easily been an all-star DH if you took out the first 2 months. So obviously you can't do that, but that's just the ultimate reality. Let me grab my phone real quick. But after this year, there's a lot of questions, rotation and all that stuff wise. But like I always say, I like to stick with the here and now of it all. We did see a 40-70 MVP, so I'm not putting anything past Ronald at all. 50-50, whatever he wants to do, he can do. He's a baseball junkie, a incredible human, flashy, but not in an incredibly right. That's what I was getting at with Ozuna. I mean, there's a lot more questions about next year than next year than this year, but Ozuna is not going anywhere right now. But yeah, Ronald can do things people shouldn't be able to do on this planet on a baseball field, so I'm not putting anything past him. But yeah, but it's really exciting. Just to finally have baseball to talk about. Obviously, Ohtani homered today for the Dodgers, so that's all we've heard about. I think the Twins have actually had a really nice offseason. The Diamondbacks have had an underrated offseason. San Diego and Seattle are probably the most interesting. Alex had a lot of help. We had a really good farm system from the trades that we made in the 2014 to 2016. We made really good trades, made really good draft picks. They came up through our system. We signed them. And then Alex Anthopoulos has made a concerted effort to get players that want to be here to stay here. And he's made really astute, keen trades, sharp trades to keep the winning culture around. But basically, when you have Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Michael Harris II, like our farm system and our scouting and development, our international scouting and development. I mean, Alex Anthopoulos has done a fantastic job of keeping this together, but he had a lot of help prior to getting here to have such a good core of players. Max Fried was in our farm system. Spencer Strider. The list goes on and on. So Alex Anthopoulos is just built on the great foundation that was left for him, and sometimes that's a harder job than starting like from complete scratch. It's impossible. So and keeping guys together and want to stay on your team from your farm system. I know it's a bigger trend. Yeah. The goal is to win every single season, and things. Washington was in a different situation because most of their key core was free agents, and they had to decide. We've just been really lucky. We've just been really lucky that we had them under control a little bit. Well, even as you say, awful GM, find some good ones, and we were lucky enough to keep them around. What's that old saying? The blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Well, Frank Ridd had a tumultuous tenure, but those two were his shining stars for sure. But back to your thing about Washington, yeah, like Anthony Rendon, free agent, Steven Strasburg, free agent, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be a very, very, very long shot if the Braves don't make the playoffs, but I won't be happy either. But yeah, especially with the extra wild card, I don't necessarily seeing that happen. Yeah, that's a good analogy too, Matt. I mean, John Hart wasn't great either, but he got us Nick Markakis, and that kind of reset the entire veteran rebuild of it all. Signed Freddie to that 8-year, 135, I believe. So yeah, I mean, it takes a village to keep and sustain baseball success for sure. I so yeah. Yeah, the Cody Bellinger deal, I think it's good for both sides. 3 years, 80, but it's basically. I think Alex Anthopoulos is better, but I think the LA is good as well. But I think the approach is different, and I think the deferred money for LA is going to come back to bite them eventually. And like they have a lot more age and injury concern. I mean, I know we have some age and some injury concern, but everybody does. But I feel like it's more littered throughout. It's really littered throughout the LA roster a little bit more than ours. So I think they're both great in their own way, but I prefer Alex Anthopoulos' way, and I agree, Matt. John Capalella and John Hart. That wasn't bad, but I didn't like that John Capalella. I think John Hart and Nick Markakis. He said some. John Hart said something bad about Brian Snitker or something, and Nick Markakis was gonna fight John Hart. So that was something I didn't like in that. But yeah, in terms of the baseball moves and setting things up for what we were able to do, and being able to get Alex Anthopoulos instead of Dayton Moore is a move. It's the moves that you sometimes the moves you don't make are the best moves, and I'm glad that Kansas City denied us permission, and then we got Alex Anthopoulos. I believe that's true. I know Nick Markakis was gonna fight somebody because he was bad mouthing Snit. I don't know if that's exactly it, but I know there's a story there. But yeah, that's why I would go to bat for Nick Markakis no matter what. But yeah, and I think he was the cornerstone of our rebuild. Honestly, getting that veteran and no nonsense kind of guy, but yeah, he is. So again, I don't know the whole background of that story, and I could be wrong. But it just seems there's a Nick Markakis. Yeah. Hey, Julie. King double for sure. Yeah, Jerry Kilnick has done some really good things defensively and had some hard outs and things of that nature so far. Nothing, no hits yet, but his defense is definitely better than Eddie Rosario, for sure. No doubt about that. So that's a really good thing there. And I really, and you really like that you don't have to. Yeah, Ozzy has yesterday, I believe. He hasn't done anything yet, but again, neither. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. hasn't registered a hit yet either. He's played a couple of games. I mean, there's of course the freaking out a little bit, but I'm not. But offensively, so far, probably out of our regulars, Ozuna's yeah. Well, it wasn't, but Tommy Doyle is not going to make the Braves roster, and neither is Bowden. So, other than that, it was pretty solid. Chris Sale being as good as he was today is the pitching takeaway we all need to take away from it. Owen Murphy being up to 94 miles an hour is a big time positive. I know he gave up a grand slam. But Owen Murphy at 94 miles an hour from 91 is nice. Let's see here. Yeah. Let me say this real quick about Ozuna at first. It's nothing. I don't think if we need to do that, we're in a bad way. I think it's a nice way for him to keep his versatility, keep engaged, and all of that. I don't think there's anything of it, but nice for him to keep his career flowing in a different way. If I had to choose, who I'm gonna choose, JD Martinez, Matt. And yes, Sale has a crazy throwing motion. It's probably not one you would teach, but it just works for him. Yeah, LA is obviously a lot of people's favorites for the amount of money they spent and the players they got and all that stuff, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, definitely we just talked about a lot of different things, Charles, but yeah, it's a very herky-jerky, deceptive motion for sure. As a hitter, you kind of just have to pick a spot and hope it goes there, for sure. But I'm really encouraged by a lot of things early on this spring, and the offense being a little silent with our regulars early on. I'd rather have it early on than later. Trying to get your timing and seeing different pitchers and all that stuff. We struggle with we struggle with bullpen games, and spring training is kind of just like spring training is just basically bullpen games. So yeah. If today is any indication, he could be the signing of the offseason, to be honest. And Max did have a good day yesterday. Like he never left, which is nice. Yeah, it'll probably be top 3 signing if today continues and he stays healthy. But again, just I appreciate that in spring training we haven't we have our roster 98% figured out, but you still see guys working, you still see guys fine tuning things, you still see you see Marcelo Zuna trying a different position, you see the hand positions, the Max Fried watching Chris Sale throw bullpens and things of that nature. If he hits 50 homers, if he hits 50 homers, I think his stolen bases may be down a little bit, but 50-40 is probably not out of the question. And who do I think the 4th outfielder will be as of right now? And I've said it, I think, for the entire offseason, that I really like Forrest Wall. I think the Boris really overplayed his hand. And I think teams have gotten smarter in terms of just waiting it out. And I think that Scott Boras forgets that it's supposed to be he works for the player, and the players are kind of getting left in the dust. Because there's no way that Blake Snell shouldn't have signed that, what was it, 150 from the Yankees that he got, the offer he got like 3 weeks ago. There's no way he shouldn't have signed that. He's coming up with all the nicknames, huh, Julie? I might steal those. So if you hear him in my recaps, that's my shout out. But he really, now we'll see if it continues, but the speed, and again, he understands the role of the Braves bench and that they're not going to play a lot. And he's able to embrace that. And I think that works big time. Eli White's had some good at-bats. Jordan Luplow had a two RBI double. So I think there's still some things to figure out there. But with the speed element of Forrest Wall, I think he's the leader in the clubhouse, shall we say, on the early on. Yeah, I think players kind of overvalued, given that most of them are Boris clients, overvalued their value. If that makes sense. And like I said, I think Scott Boras forgot that other teams won't really work with Scott Boras because he's such a butthole. And some owners don't talk to Scott Boras because of that. So I think this has kind of been a big loss for Scott Boras in this offseason. And again, agents work for players, players don't work for agents, but I think it's the opposite for well, yeah, definitely for the value that he projected his clients at and the players. I mean, they're great players and they deserve contracts, but I think it's just over. And I think now you're forcing your premium all-star players to take short-term deals and then go to the free agent fiasco again. I don't know if that's in the player's best interest. Well, the White Sox have fumbled that one. The White Sox definitely fumbled the bag on that one. I think that's more the White Sox fault than Scott Boras's. But I agree. I think when you know it's a rebuild, you've got to take advantage. And Chris, I think we have a really good rotation for sure, and we'll see. And I think it's one of the top ones, but we'll see. Health is always the issue with the older guys that we have. Deal with forfeiture. Yeah, I mean, the only time we messed around with a Boras client was Dallas Keuchel in June, and it was a one year deal. And Alex Anthopoulos loves his 1 year deal things. And in in hindsight, we probably should have just gone with Mike Soroka and Max Fried at the time. But you like the veteran that Dallas Keuchel was, and he gave us some good starts, just not what we needed in the postseason. But yeah, that's the only Boras client I think we've. Well, yeah, but Jesse Chavez got lit up in his first outing with Chicago to try to get back to us, maybe. But I don't think our bullpen is gonna. Um. Well, I don't know how we got. Well, Boras must have been less of a thing. I know. Max Fried and Tom Glavine. I think it's kind of apples and oranges a little bit. It's a good comparison, but the speed difference for Max Fried puts him a little bit over the top, but it's not a bad one. Well, Andrew Jones must have put Scott Boras in his place a little bit, and the salaries weren't as astronomical as they are now, I guess. But I don't think our bullpen is crackable this year for Jesse Chavez, just because of the depth and the versatility we have. As of now, of course, things could change, but it just feels. So I wish him the best of luck in the South Side. Soroka hasn't pitched yet, has he? Zach Wheeler, easy. Zach Wheeler, easy. Player. And player. Yeah. Player, because I gave you a picture, but player. He's not flashy, but I really like Brian Reynolds. Yeah, I mean those Derek Lowe. He had some good moments for us, but yeah, that's. Well, I didn't realize Maddox was Borders, but I didn't follow it like. I mean I didn't follow it back then as closely as I do now, but AA definitely doesn't. Who do we need to fire? We're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna fire anyone. But that makes sense for Maddox. I mean, but I would love to see Maddox pitch in this day and age because I swear we'd have like 30-minute games. But yeah, there's Corey Seager. Corey Seager kills us. So yeah, that's a good one. I'm not sure who we need to fire. But I don't think we're gonna fire anyone. If I had to guess. And look, the playoffs are a crapshoot. We all know it. And it stinks. And hopefully we're healthy, pitching wise, going into the playoffs. It was very awesome to see Tyler Matzik back on the mound and work out of a jam. You want it to be easy breezy, but it's not as a reliever, so that was nice for him to be able to work out of a jam. Decided to take the hat off because it wasn't helping the hair anyway, so I just go with the wild hair. But yeah, and I think I'm not on. I doubt we're gonna fire anyone, but yeah, I think the lefty depth that we've gotten is nice. Ray Kerr struggled a little bit. I think we haven't seen Aaron Bummer yet, so that's interesting. Going to be interesting, but the lefty depth that we've accumulated in our bullpen this year really makes me. Yes, he is. That really makes me happy. So we don't get stuck with the Lucas Lipke only experience when things happen. No disrespect to Lucas, but it just didn't work. And just having multiple options from the left side is a luxury that not a lot of teams have. Yeah. you're a good GM when you get your own blue box and you get your own post. So, and that was probably the most important extension because A will be around when we do another manager and we do all that stuff, and everybody trusts him, so that's very important as well. Somebody pointed that out to me, and that was very astute. Yes, Cody Bellinger signed. He signed with the Cubs, 3 years, 80. Yeah, we definitely didn't have Alex Anthopoulos. I don't know if he was bad, but he definitely wasn't Alex Anthopoulos. Yeah, 3 years, 80 million, but it's basically a 1 year, 30 million with a couple of player options. Yeah, and I think that's the thing I like most about Alex Anthopoulos is that he does have personality, and he doesn't BS you. He tells you it straight and tells you what he can tell you, and I think that's why you see so many extensions. You see players wanting to stay here. You see players wanting to come here. You see all of that stuff because I think Alex Anthopoulos is the most human. First off, and great baseball man, and it's just a great combination. And he's gonna be brutally honest with you with the way he, as much as he can, without giving things away. And he really, really cares. Nope. I don't know about that. I haven't heard too many of his jokes, but he's got a great personality. Uh, Glad to see you back, Julie. We missed you the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, I think it's easier to watch spring training when you don't have so many when you don't have so many spots to fill. Um, there's small battles here and there where there's a lot of bullpen battles and pitching battles with other teams that I'm glad we don't have to deal with right now. Nacho Alvarez is probably the prospect that's opened most eyes early on in spring. And I think he could be the heir apparent to Orlando Arcia. I spoke about that earlier, but getting off to a good start for sure. And yeah, Alex definitely wants this team to win. Um, but yeah, I saw that video, and he was. I guarantee you. A lot of them do, yeah, they do, and that's the culture that the Braves have built, and I appreciate that. I guarantee you, we pivoted to Chris Sale after the Dylan Cease thing was very expensive, and we backed out, and Kelnick as well. For sure. But yeah, I appreciate how the Braves are run. I appreciate all of it, and even if the move doesn't work out, it doesn't hamstring the club. Like, it's a 1-year deal. Like the Cole Hamels, that didn't work, but it's a 1-year deal, so you just say oops and then move on instead of the ridiculous contracts that some teams are in. And I think that that's also why the teams are less willing to do what Scott Boras wants them to do, because they realize that these contracts are terrible. It's actually a great thing to do 1-year deals, because if the 1-year deal works out, then you can try to extend them, and if it doesn't, you can if it doesn't, you can quickly move on. That's just my opinion. Snit's probably yeah. And Travis saying he hates playing the Mets the most. Well, that's probably also because they DFA'd him, so he's got a little personal history there as well. Yeah, and Boras, like I said, Boras is just tired to act, I guess. But I think covered it all. But anything else? I think I covered it all. See. Gary Sanchez went. I'll just go through the. I don't think Snit's gonna be around as long as you think. His contract is up in 2025. He may do one more, but I doubt it. Yeah. I feel like Nacho's probably the prospect that's opened up a lot of eyes thus far. Kind of a bit like Michael Harris did the year before, or the spring before we pulled him up. I'll just go through the deals. I went through a couple of them earlier, but I didn't finish. Brandon Crawford, minor league deal with the St. Louis Cardinals, which is just weird, but good veteran for them. Ahmed Rosario, 1.5 with Tampa. Really good for them, as they need a shortstop amid all of the drama with Wander Franco. Gio Urshela, a good pickup for Detroit, 1.5. $1.5 million. Gary Sanchez finally signed with the Brewers. I don't know the contract details on that one. The Tim Anderson deal I talked about a little bit. 1 year, $5 million. He was in the lineup at sixth in the Oriole game, so that could be a spot for him, 6th or 5th, depending on. But I think you want to split the lefties. But I think it would be 6th or 9th. 6th or at the lower of the order, so you have a second leadoff man. But yeah. I think that's all I know there's a few other deals, but I can't think of them in my head right now. Yes, Kelenic is a lefty. 9 is definitely a spot. Yeah, Julio Franco was a lot of fun to watch. I think he still can hit, which is crazy because he's in his 50s now, I think. Ninth or 6th is probably the spots for Michael Harris, I would guess. Yeah, I don't. You probably put Travis or Sean 7th, Arcia 8th, Harris 9 if you wanted to go that way, or Kelenic 8, Arcia 9. I don't think the first 5 are going to be too much of a debate. 6 through 9 that you could play around with a little bit. But you probably that's not gonna happen. At least unless we do something that I'm not anticipating us to do. March 28th, I believe. It could happen. At what, 270 something? I thought Arcia was at like 270 something at some point. I could be wrong though. And Tanya, it could happen. 40, 65. I wouldn't put anything past Michael Harris just as much as I wouldn't put anything past anybody on this team to do. Yeah, the game tomorrow is on MLB Network. So we all can watch it. And just a note, all of the remaining home games will be streamed on MLB.com. So you can watch it there. The home games, not necessarily the away, but that's good. So people can watch. All right. Think I covered everything. I think that'll work. I'm not sure though. If you have the full package. I follow them on my phone. I don't mind the radio, but I'm usually watching other sports at the same time too, because I'm still covering the Hornets and the Hurricanes and all that stuff. So trying to balance all that with the radio on's a little much, but I love the radio too. Love Ben Ingram and Joe Simpson, even though Joe is still super old school. But I like Joe better than I in the radio booth better than I did the TV. They're doing much better with the new additions. We're 5-1 in our last 6 or something. Sweet Carolina CassMAC Sportscast is my other channel. That's where I cover the Hornets, Hurricanes, Panthers, and all that stuff. It's done pretty well. I'm trying to balance it all, so it's a little because I'm still trying to keep the momentum of the Braves Anatomy and everybody excited and all that stuff. So it's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun work, and I'm really happy about that. So as always, go Braves, champions forever. Click that like button, click that subscribe button. Helps that a lot. Thanks, guys. Yes, I love March Madness. Can't wait. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. I am going to try to the TBS Braves, I think I love them, but I don't think that we're going back there. But I love them. I definitely did. But I will see you guys next Tuesday. I'm trying to do it at 7:30, but it depends on other sports and everything going on. So I'll let you guys know. If I don't put a note in Braves Anatomy, then it's 7:00. But thanks, guys. Just been awesome. We're getting closer and closer to opening day. Can't wait.